Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. You made it to the weekend. December 6th, 2014. I'm Jeremy, talking about what you can do today to make tomorrow better. I'm getting ready to go to a shoot tonight, a film shoot, and what I keep struggling with is how to talk about heavy stuff on here, trying to still make it light, but then I'm like, you know what? I gotta kind of at least refer to things that are topical to relate some of the messages, and I'm kind of had a convolution of different thoughts that I was trying to figure out how to throw it in there, and then I'm like trying to stay away from scripting it too much. Like, I don't ever script it. Every now and again I'll put a quote or something in front of me, like the Jimmy V the other day, but it'll take too long, and the whole point is just to be kind of off the cuff, and there's a big responsibility when you're talking about heavy topics. Anyway, today I'll just say what my point was going to be. The tip is going to be, before you complain and before you vent about a problem, ask yourself, have you tried to be part of the solution? Be part of the solution before you add to the problem. And I'm saying that just because there's just so much negativity, it's propagated everywhere. The media, the TV, everywhere you go and look, and all of that spreads, it funnels down into all crosshairs of society. Every neighborhood, there's people that are watching the news or watching this on TV, and they're hearing this and they're hearing that. So much of it's, I don't want to say innuendo, because there's facts, but it's just, they're taking one instance of what happened. Lately, it's been one after another of seemingly very similar situations. And you know, like the whole the Ferguson and you know, the I can't breathe trending. I mean, that video now is just, it's sickening that there is humans and people in power that abuse that power and then use fear and intimidation to suppress that kind of stuff from coming out. And the worst part is that situations like that tend to paint way too broad a brush on everything else, because in anything else that seems like it could be like that, where it may have just been a scared cop not being sure, somebody who faces life in this situation every day, responding badly but not with malintent, all it takes is to see one cop doing like that, suffocating a guy, and it makes it so easy for people to think that they're all that way. You know, one bad apple spoils a bunch, goes back however many centuries, and it's true. And it does that with our minds too, and with our beliefs and our thought systems, and it's just like, it's so easy to look at that and be like, people put on Facebook, you know, oh, typical. Well, you know, and there's so much rage and venting about it, but if every person that spreads that story, instead of just putting up there, oh, can you believe this? It's ridiculous. I thought we had come a long way, or venting about this and that, instead of propagating that hate and that vent that someone else is going to see and then do the same thing, how about instead of doing that, you want to put that story fine, but be like, you know what? They're not all this way. I know such and such. He would not do that. Like, he was in a similar, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be a cop. I'm not sitting here making a case one way or another for cops. I remember a guy I knew that was in the police academy years ago, and he said, I can't wait till I get to the academy, because then I'll be able to do whatever I want. And I thought, wow, that's not the kind of guy I want holding a badge or a gun. But then I know a lot of cops who were I had a couple friends who I used to work with, and they went on to become cops, and I was like, that's the kind of guy I want to be a cop. And you just never know who they are, because like I said yesterday, we all wear masks, and we can all be whoever we want, and we can think the way we want, and we can decide to try to be part of the solution and not the problem. But even when we're just innocently venting, it's just spreading that hate even more, and it's just more of the problem because the media does enough of that. There's not enough good being circulated back. It's all of the non-stop hate and bad things going on. And then the people on the streets rioting, do they really know every fact about the case? No, they just look at it, it's either race or religion or another divisive topic that someone can see one fact of it and jump to a conclusion, and all of a sudden it's a mob mentality, and that just gets spread and spread, and it's like a giant snowball that's becoming, it's like what was that movie with the giant tidal wave, and then it was like all frozen over. It's like literally like the real life, but like the emotional or the psychological effect that has. And it's just, we need to start thinking more about what we can do to help foster the good and the love in the world, rather than just pushing these debilitating and handcuffed thoughts that come from a small minority of people that still hold on. And yeah, there's always going to be bigots and racists and just people that just don't believe the way you do, and for a lot of horribly unethical reasons or whatever. We're all given free will, and that gives us free choice, and not everyone has the same morals that you'd like, that the man upstairs would like, so one thing I wanted to do is I've had these papers for so long. I look back at just like the day after 9/11. It really seems like this was when just everything started, the moral decay, like the hate, it just, for me anyway, it just seems like it was already trending down, but like being a godless society, it just seems like that was like that spark that really, when it in fact, and maybe that's not even, maybe there'll be people that like, no, that like a lot of people turn to God. And actually I do remember some friends who got all religious, talking about end times, and people are still talking about that. And now that we are in the year 2000, like 2000 BC and then AD, and so maybe we are at that cusp, who knows? I'm not, a biblical scholar and here to preach all that stuff. There's plenty of people doing that, but it does got to make you think. And like, I mean, it's very easy to hate, very easy. It's the easiest thing to do. It's so easy, but it's really tough to love sometimes, and to see the good amongst all the hate. And with social media and everything the way it is, it seems like that's all there is when you look out there. And so many people have said similar things, but Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "You are what you think about." And it is, like what your mind, like what occupies your mind, what you think about, that's what you become. So you can use that in so many ways. If you're stuck on the TV watching about all this horrible stuff going on, you're going to be focused on that. You're going to be thinking the world is that way, and you're going to start just emanating those kind of vibes and putting that back out, and it's just going to circulate and matriculate and snowball, like I said. So instead of allowing that to happen, try to be part of the solution. Propagate something good. Relate a time where you saw or heard of an officer that did this, but not all that way. Because we know they're going to be bad ones, and all the bad ones get highlighted and picked apart and just showcased again and again and again, until everyone has seen it and everyone has been infected by that moment, by someone who doesn't deserve to even, have that spotlight, even if it's for bad, and even if, the fact that he was protected and not, that's disheartening in the justice system, and that. But you know what? There's a bigger, call it karma, but what you put out in the world usually is what you get back. So I got a lot of other things I could say about this. I'm not going to make this too long, plus I have to go. But just whenever you're thinking about all the bad things going on in the world, think about what you can do to make it right, to be part of the solution, not just furthering the problem. Yeah, vent. I'm not saying you're part of the problem because you're talking about it or whatever, but just try to think, what good is going to come of some of the things that you're saying online and thoughts you're putting in other people's head? Do you want to plant a positive seed, or do you just want to further reinforce the negative seed that's getting pushed and pushed from every direction? So be part of the solution, not part of the problem, not to quote John McClane, but yippee-ki-yay. Now, have a good weekend, have a great Saturday, and I'll see you tomorrow, Sunday.